and welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning. We are pretty excited today. We've got Edie Bowman, who is a local playwright, and her daughters, who are actors in the most recent production coming up. We've got Autumn and Tatiana Bowman. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Edie, first of all, let's talk a little bit about your history. This is not your first go-round as far as pulling together a play and a production and so forth. Talk a little bit about your history.
Well, I've been writing plays for my local church since I was around 12 years old. And I just decided to make it more professional in 2013 when I went to Malone University. And every year I've put on a play since then, and this will be my fourth one. But I've been writing forever, since I can remember, pulling people together my whole life to put on productions.
When you look back at that body of work, are there any things that stand out as some of your very favorite things? And do you have any recurring themes that come about?
It seems that my genre would be, I hate to say it sounds crazy, but tragic comedy, maybe that would be how I could do it. It's usually serious issues mixed in with some comedy. And that's why this one is so different, because it's just full-blown comedy.
Flat
that's
out
different for
comedy.
me. But usually I always have humor in anything that I write.
Well, that's life, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Let's talk about that a little bit before we get into the one that we're really looking forward to.
Okay.
And let's talk about some of the ones that you've written before.
Okay.
Some of the themes that you have written about. What were the tragic comedies?
Well, my first one, since I graduated, was called The Courtroom, and it was a serious subject matter. It was about a young lady who was on trial for committing a murder of her husband because he did something traumatic to their daughter. And it was like a act of rage and of passion. And so she was in court, and the jurors found her guilty. The judge said she was guilty, but it was a story of God's grace and mercy. So the prosecuting attorney, of course, believed she was guilty too, but there was one lawyer who was the one who was defending her, and his name was Grace. His last name was Grace. And so the story was, at the end of it all, even though everyone knew she was guilty, there was a new law that was set in order that the judge opened up that just came into be, and it was called the law of justification. So it was just as if she never sinned. At the end, she went away free. And it's a story of God's grace and mercy. No matter what you've done, what you've gone through, it can be erased when you receive Christ.
What a parable there.
Yeah, so
Where was that performed?
that was at the Lions Lincoln. Yeah, and that was my first theater production, to the community. So that was a serious one, but it ended well, and it tells the truth of God's grace.
When you're bringing these kinds of definitely biblical themes about God's grace to the community in a community venue, how is that received? And how did you fill the house? Did you get a pretty good turnout for that?
I was so shocked, and I see my daughter shaking her head like, wow, because I remember being on stage, and I didn't know how many people was there until I was on stage opening up, and the lights were in my face, so it's hard to see, but I saw all these people, and I literally was going, oh my gosh, they came. I mean, they filled the whole bottom of the theater and were going into the balcony.
I kind of
so
remember
it was over 400
when this was happening,
Yes.
and it was very, very cool.
Yeah, so I was amazed. I was going, wow.
And what did you hear back from people after it?
I heard so much feedback that was very positive. They understood the message. They loved the message because you can relate to it. We all have done things. We all have sinned and come short of glory of God, but there was forgiveness. So everyone can relate to that. And I got a lot of feedback of people saying they were really moved and really touched from it, and they brung friends and relatives that needed to hear that message.
And it's a way some people might never step foot into a church, but they would go into the Lions Lincoln Theater to see a play, and they're getting the gospel.
So true. Yes.
I've said this a million times. People try and pigeonhole Christians, but we really only have one thing in common. We know what it is like to have really messed up and to be forgiven.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
Other than that, there's no cookie cutter.
That's right.
We're all
so
we're
true.
all different ways.
Yes.
We have our different personalities and so forth, and you really can't pin us all into one little pigeonhole box.
Exactly.
But we do have that in common.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find then that future plays, what were some of the ones then inspired by that you went on to do afterwards?
One common thing that I noticed that I had, not purposely, it just always comes, is fathers, men, and seeing them in a good light and not negative.
Yes.
The play I did last year was called Kingdom. And I interviewed 28 men. Some I knew, most of them I didn't know. I sat down with a voice recorder at Starbucks or somewhere, and I sat with them close to an hour, and I talked to them about their relationships with their fathers and with their children now. And most of the stories were heart-wrenching. A lot of them never met their dads. A lot of them are repeating the same cycles with their children. And I saw a lot of brokenness in some of these fathers. I learned a lot of how they make mistakes, but they want to correct it. But it's hard for them to get a relationship with their children because of sometimes the mother and just a lot of things. So I wrote a play around their interviews, and it was called Kingdom because kingdom principles is what I believe can bring reconciliation to those situations. So that's why I named it that. And it was a pastor who was in the play. He was the main character. He had a Bible study for men. And at this Bible study, he would talk to them about how to be good fathers. And there was a young man in there who had his father left at age 12. And he ended up coming to the meeting one day, and they reunited. And it was realistic. He wasn't happy, to see him. Yes. I made that really real.
Yes.
He was angry. And he said, "No, Dad, I don't want to forgive you." And towards the end of the play, it wasn't a happy, like, yay, everything's wonderful. Mm-hmm. They had their issues at the end of the play, but they were willing to at least try.
To work them out.
To work it out.
I am hearing so many people. I've had other folks come in and say, I never knew a father. I've had folks come in here and say, I never knew my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And so as they are trying to make a path to have a relationship with their children, with their grandchildren, they're flying without a net almost because they really don't have something to look at as far as an example.
Yes.
For these men that you spoke with, was it therapeutic for them to talk to you?
That was the most rewarding play I've ever done because many of them, but one particular older man that I remember who's probably almost 70, he literally cried, and he was usually, like kind of a tough, outer shell. But when he started talking about his father, he really started to cry, and he was apologizing. I said, "It's okay. I understand." And a lot of them really were so open with me that it was shocking. And a few of them said, "Thank you for this." Mm-hmm. Like this one guy in particular, I interviewed him at his church in the basement, and he said, "I'm so happy that you did this." He said, "I haven't talked about my father's abuse and how I abused my wife after that and problems with our children." He said, "I haven't talked about it in years, but this is therapeutic for me." So that was really rewarding.
It's always fascinating to hear how playwrights work, how you operate, and what makes you tick. You were able to gather a group of men who probably don't normally talk about such personal things to open up to you and share and be willing to let you then in turn share that with a community in the form of a dramatic presentation. Yes. How did you do that, Edie?
I believe it was the work of the Holy Spirit. It's always been something in my heart because I had a alcoholic father, and I always wanted that close, intimate relationship with him, and it just didn't work out that way because of that issue. So something was always in me that said, I want to get to the why was he an alcoholic. I always wanted to know. My family laughs at me because I ask questions all the time. And it's kind of aggravating to a lot of people, but I asked them because I really want to know. And with these men, I didn't judge them. I just wanted to hear their story.
Yes.
And I think that's why they were so open, because they can tell I wasn't judging them. I just wanted to hear your story.
Will Kingdom ever be performed again somewhere? Can people still see it?
A few people asked, could I do it again? Because I'm kind of a lengthy writer, and that one was a long play because I had so much to say.
Yes.
And I think I should split it up into a part 2 or something, because it's so much more with that issue that needs to be heard and seen.
Any thought, here's something for the suggestion box, any thought of videoing some of these and making them available to people as a video?
I actually did have a professional videographer, and we did sell them to some of the people that wanted one. So that was something that we did do.
Is it available for anyone?
It's still available, yes.
How would people who would like to see this get a hold of a copy?
They can call me on my personal cell number, which is 330-353-2735.
Well, that's good of you. That was very nice of you to share.
Yes.
Are you okay with repeating that again?
Yes, it's
Okay.
330-353-2735.
Edie, do you have a website or some place where people can go for more information about you?
Actually, my Facebook page is a way that
Awesome, yes.
you can reach me, and it's my name, Edie Bowman. On
Facebook and
Yep.
look it for you on Facebook, Edie
Yes.
Bowman.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Simple.
Any particular photos we should be watching for?
Well, you'll see me in a character that I do in every play. So if you see a Southern lady that's dressed kind of spiffy,
Okay.
that's me. A lot of people don't know that's me, but it's a character that I play named Mabel Ann Johnston, and she'll be on Facebook, and you'll also see flyers from the other plays I've done on Facebook.
And that takes me exactly to the next thing. Tell me
Okay.
about Mabel Johnston. Who is this woman, and why does she appear in every one of your plays?
Well, I grew up in a church where I used to just watch the older ladies. I've always been drawn to older ladies. They have so much wisdom and character, and I can always pick out funny things, and I like to mimic people. So I remember older characters at my church and in my family. So around the house, since I'm really an actress myself, I act like an older Southern lady around my husband. He's like, Edie, stop. Would you stop? Would you get out of character? So one day for my pastor's anniversary, I formed a skit. We dressed up like older ladies and men, and we sat around and we laughed and we talked, and my character's name was Mabel Ann Johnston. She's a person who tells the truth, says it quickly, she doesn't hold back her words, and she used the scripture a lot, and she teaches, but with a Southern accent and, the Southern traditional ways and little things that they say. So it's a comedy. She's really comedic.
Yes.
And you'll see her in every play that I
But we
do.
all know her,
Yes.
don't we?
Yes, we do.
And can I guess that she's got a collection of really great hats?
Yes. They're
Okay.
all up in my attic.
Yeah.
Really great hats.
I hear ya. Okay. I've got to turn to your girls now. We've got Autumn and Tatiana here. Good morning again to both of you. What is it like growing up in this home? This has got to be a little bit fun, helping your mom out with these productions.
Yeah, it's really fun. We always are laughing all the time. She always comes up with new ways to either annoy us to a certain extent, but it's still funny at the same time.
How about you?
Yes, especially when you're having a bad day or coming from school and just coming home and, you can come home to someone that's just really funny and unique. It's just amazing.
Yes. Do either of you enjoy writing? Do you like writing plays yourself?
Yes, I enjoy writing poetry and little stories. I've been doing that since I was a little girl. I've just been doing poetry lately, but that's how me and my mom connect with writing. So it's really cool.
So aren't you so happy it hasn't skipped a generation?
I'm so
right?
happy to see, I listen to their writings, and they're really passionate about different issues, and they write about it. So I know they inherently, got that gift.
You're also actresses. Tell us the parts that you are in. Tell us, first of all, the upcoming play is...
It's called Good Like Medicine, taken from Proverbs, where it says, laughter does good like medicine. It's an evening of laughter.
Good Like Medicine, an Evening of Laughter. Let's let everybody know this is going to be at the Lions Lincoln Theater when?
It's Friday, June 23rd at 7 o'clock at the Lions Lincoln in Massillon, Ohio.
And you have one shot to get there. So
Yes,
that's
just
the
one
only
shot.
thing is that
One
you
day
get
I'll be
all
able to,
ready.
do a few more days in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
your life will go back to normal, but all the preparation, and then it's just
It's a
one
lot.
night. That's got to be just like, don't you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Yes. And maybe we'll have to just work on that and get an encore performance and everything.
Yes.
We do need to take a break, but we want to come back and find out more about Good Like Medicine, an Evening of Laughter by Edie Bowman, starring Tatiana and Autumn Bowman, and many more. So we're going to find out more about it after these words. You're listening to Our Community.